Here's something they don't teach you in any history class. When a Marine runs out of bullets, and they did run out more often than the textbooks admit, he did not stop fighting. He looked around, grabbed whatever was nearby, and made something out of it. A wire, a sock, a piece of bamboo, a bottle of gasoline, and some laundry detergent he found in an Iraqi kitchen. That is documented history in after-action reports, in memoirs, in Medal of Honor citations, and in a formal Marine Corps martial arts manual that is sitting in a public PDF, describing in clinical military language exactly how to strangle someone with a piece of field wire. Before we get into it, nothing in this video is legal advice. Laws vary by state and jurisdiction in ways that will genuinely make your head spin. Talk to a licensed dealer or firearms attorney who knows your local laws. We are here for history. Now let's get into it. Number 12. Sharpened bamboo and wooden stake. This isn't a weapon from the Dark Ages. Marines on Guadalcanal, Saipan, and Okinawa, men who had been issued rifles, grenades, and bayonets, found themselves in situations where all of that was gone. Jammed, empty, lost in the mud during a night fight. So, they sharpened whatever wood was nearby, which in the Pacific jungle was never hard to find. What strikes me about this is not the weapon itself, but the situation that produced it. These are 20th century soldiers in a mechanized global war, reduced to the oldest combat tool human beings have ever made. That gap between what we imagine modern warfare looks like and what it actually demanded of the men fighting it is enormous, and this weapon lives right in the middle of it. Number 11. Improvised SAP from bootlace and rock. When there was nothing else available, a Marine could pull a bootlace, knot it around a rock or a bolt, and have a functional weapon in under a minute. The physics are the same as a police blackjack. A flexible shaft with a heavy, weighted end concentrates striking force in a way a bare fist simply cannot replicate. Some Marines stripped material from helmet liner webbing, packed it with dirt and gravel, and used that instead. The specific material did not matter. In a close-quarters situation where a gunshot would give away your position, it was exactly what was needed. Number 10. Field expedient sap or blackjack, sock filled with rocks and sand. The more refined version of the same idea, and this one has a paper trail. A U.S. Army field manual from the Vietnam era, formerly titled Field Expedient Weapons, documented this exact weapon. Veterans who trained with it noted that the sand was not optional. Rocks alone shift around on impact. Sand fills the voids and creates a dense, uniform striking surface. Nesting 2 or 3 socks together made it durable enough to actually hold up in use. That manual covered this alongside sentry removal, escape and evasion, booby trap construction, and how to reinforce a fighting position when running low on ammunition. It was written for men who might find themselves with almost nothing, and its answer was this: here is how you build something from whatever is left. Number 9. Improvised brass knuckles, field cast aboard ship. During World War II, aboard the Navy ships carrying Marines to the Pacific beaches, metalworkers in the ship's foundry were casting brass knuckles using the same equipment that normally fabricated replacement ship parts. The method was sand casting. You pack a mold into sand, pour molten metal in, let it cool, and then knock it free. The surviving examples show exactly what you would expect: slight imperfections, visible mold marks, and functional. What I find interesting is that Civil War soldiers did the exact same thing 80 years earlier, melting lead bullets and pressing molds into dirt when they could not acquire brass knuckles any other way. The materials changed. The impulse did not. Number 8. Hard garrote, rigid stick or baton. A hard garrote is a rigid implement, a stick, a tent peg, a length of pipe, pressed against the back of the neck and used as a lever to simultaneously cut off blood flow and airflow. This technique is formally covered in the Marine Corps Martial Arts Program, MCMAP, the official close combat doctrine of the United States Marine Corps. It is in the manual, with diagrams. The stated purpose is silent sentry removal during raids and reconnaissance missions where a gunshot would compromise the operation. I think it is worth being straightforward about what that means rather than softening it. This is a technique for killing someone quietly, taught to Marines as a formal skill, using a stick picked up off the ground. Number 7. Field-made garrote from camo wire. WD1TT, field telephone wire, camo wire, was distributed to virtually every Marine field position in virtually every conflict from World War II onward. It was always there, and because it was always there, it became the most historically documented material for field-made garrotes. Strip a short length, twist each end back on itself to form a loop handle, and you are done in under a minute. The wire is dual strand and steel reinforced, strong enough for the application without any modification. What stays with me about this is the quiet intentionality of it. A Marine who made one of these and put it in his pocket before a patrol had already thought through a scenario that most people would find very difficult to contemplate, and he had prepared for it deliberately. Number 6. Soft garrote, wire or cord. This is the officially documented version, and it is worth understanding how the Marine Corps categorizes this. Section X of MCRP 328, the Marine Corps Martial Arts Program Manual, draws a specific line between a weapon of opportunity, which is something you grab in the moment because it is there, and an improvised weapon, which is something you deliberately construct ahead of time for a specific function. The soft garrote is the second kind. 2 techniques are formally taught, from the rear, which is preferred, and from the front, used when the Marine has already been detected before completing the approach. The Marine Corps Martial Arts Program motto is "One mind, any weapon." When you read this section of the manual, it becomes clear that is not motivational language. It is a practical statement of doctrine. Number 5. Improvised trench club. Trench raiding clubs go back to World War I, when Marines and soldiers discovered through hard experience that rifles were the wrong tool for nighttime raids. You needed quiet. You needed something that worked at arm's length in complete darkness and stopped someone immediately. The construction was a solid length of wood, a pick handle, a shovel handle, or a branch, with metal weight fixed to the striking end. Nails were driven in, wire was wrapped and hammered, empty grenade casings were attached, and scavenged metal banding was used. Whatever added mass to the point of impact. This carried into World War II and beyond, and the Marine Corps Martial Arts Program still teaches the underlying concept today under weapons of opportunity, the formal recognition that a Marine who understands striking mechanics is never fully unarmed. Number 4. Field-made spear from bayonet and shaft. There is a photograph in the National Archives from Saipan, 1944, of U.S. Marines examining captured Japanese improvised spears, bayonets lashed to bamboo poles with cord. The Marines are looking at them with what I can only describe as professional recognition, not shock, because they understood exactly what had produced that weapon. The same thing had produced the same weapon on their side, a rifle that was empty, or jammed, or gone, and an enemy still coming. The M1 bayonet and the M7 bayonet both had geometry that could be bound securely to a shaft using bootlaces, camo wire, or stripped paracord inner strands. Both sides in the Pacific arrived at this solution independently, under the same pressure. That convergence tells you something about human beings under extreme constraint. When the options narrow far enough, the answers become the same. Number 3. Field improvised, shoulder-fired, 60mm mortar, Paleliu, World War II. When I first read about this, I went back and checked the source twice, because it sounds like the kind of thing that gets exaggerated in the retelling. It didn't. At Peleliu, a Marine battalion armorer took a spare M260mm mortar tube and fabricated a shoulder stock, then connected a trigger mechanism to the firing pin, converting a crew-served indirect fire weapon into something one man could shoulder aim at a direct target. This is documented in Marine George Pito's memoir 22 on Peleliu. It was field tested on the island, and when they needed someone to fire it and absorb the recoil, they chose Ernie Huxell, an 81mm mortar gunner Pito describes as one of the burliest men in the platoon. Somewhere on Peleliu, in the middle of one of the worst battles of the Pacific War, a group of Marines invented a weapon, looked around at each other, and agreed that Ernie was the right man to find out what happened when you pulled the trigger. Number 2. Improvised Molotov Cocktail, Fallujah, 2004. This is the most recent entry on the list, and it's a reminder that this kind of improvisation did not end with World War II. It was happening 20 years ago in Iraq, and it was documented with full institutional rigor. November 2004. Operation Phantom Fury. Marines were clearing Fallujah house by house against an enemy that had spent months fortifying the city and had no intention of surrendering. Grenades and rifle fire were not reliably flushing fighters out of reinforced rooms. So Marines started mixing their own incendiary, 2 parts gasoline and 1 part liquid laundry detergent. The detergent thickens the mixture so it clings to surfaces and keeps burning. It follows the same basic principle as military napalm, and it was assembled from materials found in the houses and streets of that city. The formula is documented in the official after-action report, Lessons Learned, Infantry Squad Tactics in Military Operations in Urban Terrain, during Operation Phantom Fury. The report states the cocktail was used when contact is made in a house, and the enemy must be burned out, and was developed in response to the enemy's tactics. The United States Marine Corps formally recorded in an official document that their men made fire from scratch in an Iraqi city and used it to win a battle. Number 1. The Stinger, Field-Built Machine Gun, Iwo Jima, 1945. Everything else on this list was built because a Marine had nothing and needed something. This one was built because Marines looked at what they had and decided they could build something better. The standard M19-19A6 infantry machine gun weighed 35 pounds and was designed for fixed defensive positions. In the Pacific jungle, on assault and in ambushes, it was cumbersome in a way that cost lives. Marines of the 5th Marine Division went to the aircraft graveyards on Guadalcanal and Bougainville, the wrecked planes accumulating on those islands, and pulled the 30 caliber AN-M2 aircraft machine guns from the wreckage. They weighed 21 pounds and had a cyclic rate of 1,200 to 1,500 rounds per minute, roughly 3 times faster than the M1919. Then they rebuilt it into an infantry weapon, using an M1 carbine stock, a bar bipod, bar sights, a redesigned solenoid trigger, and an improvised 100-round box magazine. 6 weapons were built entirely by hand from salvaged parts. One of those 6 went to Corporal Tony Stein. February 19, 1945, Iwo Jima, First Wave. Stein immediately exposed himself to draw Japanese fire so his platoon could establish position, charged and destroyed multiple enemy pillboxes, and had the Stinger shot out of his hands twice. When the ammunition ran out, and at 1,500 rounds per minute it ran out fast, he took off his helmet and boots to run faster, sprinted back to the beach for more, and carried a wounded Marine back with him on every single return trip. He did this 8 times. He was killed in action 1 week later. He was 23 years old. His Medal of Honor citation refers to the weapon, the one 6 Marines built from scavenged aircraft parts. simply as a personally improvised aircraft-type weapon. It did not even get a name in the official record. All 6 Stingers were lost. None survived the war. The most impressive field-made weapon in Marine Corps history exists now only in photographs and in the citation of a kid from Dayton, Ohio, who went to a volcanic island in the Pacific and did not come home. That's what this list is really about, not the weapons themselves, but what it says about the men who made them. When everything was stripped away, they looked at what was left and found a way to keep going. A sock, a wire, a wrecked airplane. It didn't matter. They made it work.